The response to Charlie Kirk's tragic assassination was almost as shocking as the event itself. While there were notable exceptions, there was also no shortage of responses that ranged from thinly veiled versions of "he had it coming" to outright celebration. Most prominently, on Monday, September 15, late-night TV host Jimmy Kimmel claimed the killer was part of the MAGA gang, which he also accused of trying to politicize the tragedy. Kimmel then mocked the president for mourning the death of his friend and political supporter, quote, "the way a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish." Hi, I'm Todd. In my early 40s, I retired from a successful career in investment banking to focus on my family and love of investing. Within a short period of time, and based entirely on my own research, I made more money investing than I had saved during 20 years of working at the day jobs, which allowed me to devote myself to a deeply held interest in economic history and led to my first book, which was recently published. These podcasts and my free Substack newsletter are my way of passing on some of what I've learned along the way. After a short break, we'll explore the culture of hatred and retribution that surrounded Charlie Kirk's assassination and the free speech issues related to the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel's late-night TV show. Following Mr. Kimmel's divisive commentary, Federal Communications Commission Chair Brendan Carr commented that the FCC could take action against ABC because of Mr. Kimmel, when Carr told an interviewer, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." Apparently in response, two groups of ABC affiliate stations announced they were going to stop carrying Kimmel's show, which led ABC owner Disney to suspend the program. President Trump praised the suspension and also threatened to shut down other late-night programs. In response, former President Barack Obama called out the Trump administration for threatening its own version of cancel culture, and many others in Hollywood came out in support of Mr. Kimmel's right to free speech. Many on the right applauded and defended the FCC's threats against ABC, and accused the left of trying to enforce a double standard, i.e., of having ignored cancel culture for decades when it was aimed at conservatives, but now suddenly denouncing it when aimed at one of their own. Other prominent voices, including the Wall Street Journal and Republican Senator Ted Cruz, stood up for the principle of free speech. In an editorial titled "Ted Cruz's Finest Hour," the Journal noted the senator had compared the FCC's threats to what might be expected of a mafia leader, and further went on to note that Cruz also warned, quote, "It might feel good right now to threaten Jimmy Kimmel, but when it is used to silence every conservative in America, we will regret it." Later in the week, a man was accused of shooting multiple times into the lobby of an ABC affiliate station. And an NBC online report headline stated, "Jimmy Kimmel suspension might have been a factor in shooting at Sacramento ABC affiliate," DA says. "We believe there was a political motive behind his intention," according to the county prosecutor. Then on the following Monday, perhaps in response to Hollywood's criticism, Disney announced they were reinstating Mr. Kimmel's show. On Tuesday, ignoring Mr. Cruz's advice, Trump again threatened to retaliate against the network. On Wednesday, a different shooter opened fire on a government building in Dallas, an ICE facility, and one detainee was killed and 2 others were injured. Now, there are a handful of important takeaways to be drawn from this swirling web of events, emotions, claims, and counterclaims. Starting with, in the midst of all the issues involved here, it is important to remember that this series of tragic events began with the culture of hatred that led to Charlie Kirk's assassination. After nearly 6 decades of accumulating social, cultural, and political control, the left feels threatened by a political regime change in the leadership and overall direction of the country. And they have responded by Hitlerizing Trump and Nazifying his supporters, which in my opinion has created an atmosphere of anger, hatred, frustration, and retribution that implicitly justifies even the most vile acts of violence against even the most innocent of victims. In addition, the peaceful nature of Mr. Kirk's political debate and of his supporters' response to his assassination stands in sharp contrast to the ever-escalating violence resulting from the left's extremism. Images of Mr. Kirk taking a bullet in the neck while engaged in peaceful debate, and later of his wife's tearful forgiveness of his assassin before a crowd of 40,000 peaceful mourners, with an estimated 200,000 more outside, provide a sharp contrast with the left's growing record of violence, which in just the past 15 months has included 2 assassination attempts on Mr. Trump, numerous attacks on Tesla that included setting vehicles on fire and spray painting swastikas on and planting explosives in dealerships, the premeditated murder of United Health Group CEO Brian Thompson, and the shocking outpouring of admiration and support for both the murderer and his crime that followed, the assassination of Mr. Kirk, the attack on the Sacramento ABC affiliate station that followed Mr. Kimmel's suspension, and finally the attack on the ICE station in Dallas and the resulting casualties. Now, in spite of all this, the verbal combat provoked by the Kimmel affair has not reflected well on either side. Mr. Kimmel's comments were, at the least, highly distasteful. And as Senator Ted Cruz has adroitly pointed out, the administration's attacks on free speech represent a highly regrettable response. The government's threats against ABC have so far increased Mr. Kimmel's audience and helped turn him into something of a free speech martyr. And in so doing, it has made it more difficult for ABC to cancel his programs, which has had declining ratings for years. Rather than boosting Mr. Kimmel's standing, the best thing for most people on the right to do is to simply stop watching his program, discuss with others how this form of extremist commentary is harming so many innocent Americans by creating this culture of hatred and violence, or that it implicitly justifies violence, and then stand up for Mr. Kimmel's rights, his free speech rights, so long as he is not directly inciting violence. Now, we also have to remember, Mr. Trump's rise has been fueled by his well-deserved image as an outside change agent with the toughness to take on the political class that has done so much damage over the past 2.5 decades. Time and again, Trump has demonstrated a remarkable ability to overcome his opponent's relentless attacks and thread the political needle on many contentious issues, all of which has only emboldened his sense of self-reliance. But his inclinations are not immune to failure, and it is important for his supporters to try and curb misguided policies such as his threats against free speech. Furthermore, the Republican Party will ultimately have to redefine itself in ways that transcend Trump's uniquely personal brand of politics. In so doing, leaders on the right should continue to direct the party toward the values most Americans have long held dear: including the preeminence of the individual over the power of the state, the uniquely American dream of upward mobility fostered through free market capitalism, and our endless striving to become the best that we can be while setting a guiding light of hope, optimism, and accomplishment for the rest of the world to follow. Today we face important challenges, but none that are greater than those we have overcome time and again throughout our storied history. Here's to hoping your day is as bright as America's future. Again, I'm Todd, and thanks for your interest. If you found this helpful, please subscribe and recommend it to at least one other person. If you'd like to learn more and to find links to my free On Wealth and Progress newsletter and my book, please visit my website, toddsheetswriter.com. Thanks again for your interest.